Welcome back to DC-Cember, as me and my guests, Velvetjoker and Patrick Palen, continue through the top 12 standalone DC films.
When that light hits the sky, it's not just a call. It's a warning.
Ooh, this was at 9?
It was a community vote.
Oh, community.
I love the Riddler aspect. I mean, it wasn't a traditional Riddler, but it was interesting. I thought more interesting than Robert Pattinson as Batman.
I always feel like that's the case in most movies nowadays, where they make the villain more interesting than the hero.
Right. And I know a lot of people argue, oh, well, it's year one Batman. It's really early in his career. And I was like, all right, but, give me something. I don't know. I felt he was kind of flat. I didn't hate the movie, but it wasn't one of my stronger choices for sure as far as Batman movies go.
I agree, because that's why I feel like it's a problem when it comes to making new movies of Batman and Superman, because you had to figure out how to make him different than the last one. And as far as for the costume design, I didn't quite love it, but I didn't hate it, just because it's a year or two story, so it makes sense that the suit would be more patched together of different parts.
Mm-hmm.
And the video game style fighting was cool.
That was one of the best aspects of the Arkham games for me. That's the vibe I felt like with some of those action scenes, and with the Batmobile chase, that was pretty cool. But I do feel like that Batman was a bit too emo, even when he's just as Bruce Wayne. Because I kind of get it, because I feel like in most cases, Batman doesn't really care about doing the whole double life thing. Because I feel like if he could, he would be Batman 24/7.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The feelings you guys expressed it sounds like it's, what I've pretty commonly heard from people pretty much at the outset. Riddler felt a little bit more interesting than this version of Bruce Wayne. Robert Pattinson came across as a little bit emo. So I feel like, hey, if that's your experience, that's totally valid, especially with a character that's this old, where there's so much media, right? Your experience of that character is going to inform what you prefer at this point now in the present. And so, yeah, you just really got to go with what speaks out the most to you. For me, this was my most favorite adaptation of all of them so far. And that's coming from somebody who absolutely loved the Dark Knight trilogy. I definitely see where you're coming from, Velvet, because in regards to Riddler being more interesting, because arguably we get more exposure to who the actual person is in this movie. What was he called? Edward Nashton? Is that what they called him? It almost feels like we get a deeper look into him than we do of Bruce, because we get more Batman than Bruce. But I thought it was really cool to see a take on the character where it almost had this kind of Western kind of vibe to it, where it's Batman's basically the one good cowboy in a town full of other cowboys, but he's the only actual good one. And then the music, especially for me too, from Michael Giacchino, where he uses a lot of sounds that are very reminiscent of Shirley Walker in the animated series. I don't know if that was ever on purpose, or if that's just me projecting that from what I hear. And I don't know. I'll never try to change anybody's mind about it, but I'm very optimistic that the second movie will try to follow up with more of an exploration on who Bruce is.
I would love to see that.
I agree, because there are some good things I did like about the movie. I did like the atmosphere of Gotham. I actually didn't mind that little narration Bruce had, because it made me think of some of the comics that would have those little narrations, from Year One or Hush.
Yeah, that actually, apparently that was taken from or part of it, when he talked about the nights kind of rolling into one. Some of those lines were taken from an actual cop's diary from when he was journaling about his rookie year on the job, which I thought was really interesting.
And I would say for Riddler, I definitely like that this was different, that he's not just trying to prove that he's the smartest. He had a more, I guess could say, political agenda, just because the fact that of how he was an orphan, and how him and other orphans in Gotham, they got screwed just because of rich scumbags taking over the fund that Wayne's family had planned with the whole campaign thing.
Yeah, the one that ended up just becoming a shell for money laundering and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just think the movie shouldn't have been too long. Pacing could have been toned down a bit, but I would say for the characters they brought, I loved Colin Farrell's Penguin. It just worked for me, and that's what made his show that good when he was put in focus here, because I felt like they took in the whole realistic aspects of Batman, but put in other characters for it to be established. Because for Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, it felt like a good mixture of Year One and Darwin Cook's art style of the character.
I happen to love the spin-off of being the Penguin, which Brian just mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, did you equally love the transition of, all the background of the Batman in the Penguin series?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually really did. And I'm actually really happy when I hear people talk about how they might have really liked that show, even despite not liking the movie itself. I think that's fantastic. And it felt pretty cohesive. And if something about that show resonates with people more than the movie from before it, hey, that's still a win.
I did really enjoy, like you said, the cohesiveness where they took the whole series of what had happened to those neighborhoods and they really kind of put it in our face in a way bigger way.
I'm definitely a believer in Matt Reeves' vision and what he's got cooking up over there. With the movie itself, I saw it 8 times in the theater.
Oh, wow.
So when people are like, it's a little too long, I do get it. But yeah, I spent a long time in 2022 thinking about that movie.
Yeah, because I just see the movie a couple times. It's just the one thing with real life, I'm kind of cringe and laugh is with that scene in Arkham Asylum when he's yelling.
This is not how this was supposed to go.
No, that's fair. Well, sometimes things become a little bit more cringy with time, or sometimes they age a little bit better. So hit me up if you see it again, and I'll be curious to know if it comes across a little bit better repeat viewings. I think that's why one of the reasons I saw it so many times too, though, was because I was a huge Batman fan during the release of that movie, but my fandom during the Ben Affleck years, it was honestly kind of dying out a little bit. And I think it's because it felt like the Batman character was getting not sidelined, but he was just not getting his own time. I mean, same thing with Superman, right? So when that movie came out, I thought, it looks interesting, but it's probably not going to be anywhere near as good as something like The Dark Knight, Batman Begins. And then I saw it and I was like, wait, why was this such an enjoyable experience for me as a Batman fan? Like, I thought I wouldn't like it that much. But it's interesting bringing up the point about this version of Bruce being kind of emo. I definitely get it, especially with the Nirvana music and then the black eye makeup. But it's ironic, though, too, because that's a valid point. But this is arguably the most optimistic version of Batman we've had in a live action film since, I feel like maybe since Batman Begins, when you consider the conclusion and the story arc that this version of Batman goes through, where he realizes that vengeance can't be his answer and that he has to represent something more. And then they even symbolize that too with the cinematography of him helping all of these people in the dark with his flare during the flooding of the stadium. And then he's helping people during the broad daylight the next morning, evacuating them out of the stadium and helping with the National Guard. And so I absolutely love this movie and the new Superman movie. And I feel like those are such great examples of those two characters at their finest, and they're like two sides of the same coin. But if others feel differently, I'm like, that's also fair.
Yeah. But we support you. You're allowed to have your opinion.
Yeah, and because I agree. I did like that aspect where he realized that he can't be all about vengeance because pretty much his actions influence the Riddler, because that's the price for any superhero, that they're going to inspire many people, those who will either become heroes themselves or anti-heroes / villains, because for some people, all they see is someone who is going to do whatever he thinks is right, no matter what, especially for those that have power. Thanks for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed the commentary, be sure to check out my guest podcast channels. Click the links in the description box to find out more details.